Alright guys, we're back at our dealer in San Diego, Lee's Cycle. And we got a special bike today. We got the 2026 Kawasaki ZX-10R, a bike a lot of people have been waiting for tuning, for dyno. I'm not seeing a whole lot of information online about this. These bikes just dropped. Now this bike is 100% stock pipe, stock air filter, stock everything on this motorcycle. And we're gonna be doing a few things today. We're gonna be dyno testing in stock, seeing what it does. Then we're gonna tune the stock pipe and see how that looks versus the stock baseline. And then we're gonna put a pipe on it here today on the dyno. We're gonna put a pipe on it, 3/4 system, and then we're gonna bring it back and dyno it again. And we're gonna compare everything as well as comparisons against other models and older models. Another thing we'll be checking out is the Airbox and see if it compares to the Gen 6 Airbox. If it's the same, if it's different, if they changed anything. We're gonna try and tear into this bike as much as possible to see what the changes are. So let's get started with the stock tuning. All right, we are wrapped up with the stock testing here. We can see this is just like we saw in the past from the Gen 6 models. We have this power coming up and then a massive restriction up top, right past about 12,100 RPM. It just starts falling downhill until actually it's a rev limiter at 14,000 or a little past 14,000 RPM. Now the problem with this is when you're at the track and you're really trying to wind the bike out, it actually goes slower the faster it gets. And you can actually shift to another gear and get a lot more speed into the bike and gear up. Let's say you're in 4th gear, right around here, and you go to 5th gear, now you're getting more power. You feel a noticeable increase in power shifting to a higher gear, which is kind of crazy. But that's the way the restrictions work here. And we see a lot of Japanese bike with these kinds of restrictions up top, like say the CBR 1000 RRR, and let's say the Yamaha R1. Those all have these massive restrictions up top. And I'm not gonna really do a comparison on stock here because no one keeps their bike with this kind of stock tuning on. It's kind of ridiculous. But what I would like to see is a Gen 6 with the stock tuning versus the Gen 7. So here in blue, we have actually a Gen 6, and in red, we have our Gen 7. We can see that's actually not making as much power up top. It's definitely losing a little bit up there. Now, this particular bike here did have an Acura slip-on system on it, which could hurt the fueling and hurt the power as well. So we're seeing pretty much the same restrictions versus these two bikes here. Not really a big change. So now we've seen what stock tuning can do. Let's go ahead and tune it with the stock pipe and see how much power we can squeeze out of this thing completely stock with tuning alone. All right, we're wrapped up with our tune runs here. Of course, we have blue. This is gonna be our tuned Gen 7 run, and red, this is gonna be our stock Gen 7 run right here. And you can see we're making about 100 wheel horsepower at red line. So you can see right here, 88 and 188. So right there, where the bike is at the red line, it's 100 wheel horsepower. Now, of course, it's not 100 wheel horsepower peak to peak. It's 172 versus 190. So that's 18 wheel horsepower we're making on top of that. But you can see the roll off here. There's definitely a significant change that happens right around that 12,000 marker. And we just keep carrying that power out while the stock file just dies and dies and dies until it hits the red line right there. You can see that significant portion. That's the red line. And of course, we're making little bits of power everywhere. Nothing crazy though. 2-wheel there. We start separating over here, we're making 4-wheel here, more over here. So the more RPM we get, the more power we're making until we're making a significant amount of power up top. And yes, we did stretch out that red line a little bit more than we did stock. Less shifting the track and more of a power band. That's the advantage. Now we've seen what the stock pipe can provide, 190 total, which isn't actually bad for a stock pipe in my opinion. Now we're gonna install a 3/4 system. So it's time to roll the bike off the dyno, get it onto a lift, and start tearing this thing apart. All right guys, so we pulled the bike off the dyno, got it here on the lift, and we've pulled off the tank, and we're looking at the actual Gen 7 Airbox here, which seemingly is exactly the same as the Gen 6 Airbox. There is absolutely zero changes. The stacks are exactly the same. The filter is the same. The top of the box is the same. We're not seeing any real changes here. We even took a flashlight and looked down in the head. It looks exactly the same as well. Now we're going to go ahead and getting the stock exhaust off right now, and we're going to go ahead and leave that titanium stock header on there. It's a very good piece. We can just disconnect it here just like you can in the Gen 6 right here. That spot right there. And then from there back, we're changing basically to an aftermarket system, but we're pulling off of this bike right here. All right, back in the dyno with the Gen 7, and the goal right now is going to be with tuning to see if we can beat the stock exhaust with the 3/4 system we have from Two Brothers. Now let's note that this bike has a stock air filter, stock airbox. We didn't touch the velocity stacks. Everything is stock except for a 3/4 Two Brothers system that we just added same day on the dyno. Same tank of fuel, same everything. We're trying to keep the variables at a minimum here. And then of course we'll go into our comparisons. But this bike already sounds so much better. Listen to this. Much better, right? Let's get started. Okay, we're done with tuning with the exhaust system, and you can see we're making good amounts of power here. In red, we have the Gen 7 with the 3/4 system on it, and in blue, this is going to be tuned with the stock system on it. Now in the mid-range here, we're already making 12 wheel horsepower and 7 wheel torque. That's significant, and that's usually where you see exhaust gains is the mid-range on these bikes. But at the top end, we are also making a total of 4 wheel horsepower right there and a couple wheel torque. So all in all, these are great gains. We're looking at 193 versus 190, which is kind of basically what we anticipated. These are low 190s bikes with a pipe on it and nothing else, no air filter, nothing. Now let's go ahead and check out our completely stock run to see how far we've gotten with the Gen 7. So we have our completely stock tuning and stock pipe run here in green. In blue, we have BT Moto tuning and the stock pipe. And in red, we have the Two Brothers 3/4 system and tuning. Look how much of a gain it is from stock. It's a different bike. I mean, it's nothing crazy up until that 12,000 RPM. Then it becomes absolutely absurd gains from there because of the throttle restrictions we have on this motorcycle. Even with the pipe versus no pipe, it's a significant gain. You're gonna see a lot of mid-range on this bike, and this bike does need low and mid-range. It's one of those bikes that just doesn't make a lot of torque. And while that's an advantage in racing, in light-to-light scenarios, it doesn't feel that great. Now let's see some comparisons. Let's go ahead and check out what a Gen 6 did on the same dyno. Now this is the closest comparison I could find. In red is our Gen 7 and in blue is a Gen 6. Now the Gen 6 has Acra, it does not have the Two Brothers, but everything else is basically the same. These are both tuned runs, both similar mods, and both the same exact dyno. We're not seeing a whole lot of changes. I mean, any of these changes could be attributed to tuning, basically. But we are making power at a different area up top. Again, that can also just be tuning because we didn't tune that bike. It's just a comparison I have from the dyno here. So I'm not seeing a whole lot of changes from the Gen 6 to Gen 7, if there's any changes at all. It seems like it's dynoing almost exactly the same way a Gen 6 does. And another thing we started to work on here is going to be partial throttle. So let me show you the Gen 7, what we did with, let's say 25% throttle. Again, we're still working on this, but we just wanted to show you guys how it looks stock and how it looks after we finish. Now again, we're still working on this and I still have to road test it, but this is 25% throttle, and in red it's going to be our tuned runs, and in blue is going to be stock. Now I hold 25% across the entire RPM range. You can see we have significant gains across the rev range here. This is 7 wheel horsepower at 25% throttle. And here way down in the mid range is over 20 wheel horsepower. Now we'll be testing this on the road, getting some fine tuning done, but this is definitely a better increase from completely stock to tune. You can see it's much more linear than this mountain climb we're looking at here for stock. Now let's go ahead and see some comparisons. Let's start with the Triple R from Honda. So we have the Honda Triple R here in blue, and in red we have our Gen 7. Both these are similarly modded. I have full Acra on the Triple R and our velocity stacks, which means this wouldn't exist if our velocity stacks were on the bike. This bike tends to have this massive gap right here. It's a hole basically if you don't have velocity stacks on the Triple R. Whereas the ZX-10R doesn't have that issue up top. Now the Honda actually is making a little more in the mid-range, which is surprising because that Honda doesn't really make a whole lot in the mid-range, but then again the Kawasaki doesn't either. But we're kind of mirroring this thing all the way up until where the Gen 7 calls it quits at about 14.5, and the CBR just keeps climbing and climbing. It goes about 15.5, so about 1,000 more RPM there. But these are very similar graphs here. Peak being only 199 versus 193, that's 6 wheel horsepower, and you can see we're very close. Now let's go ahead and check out the Yamaha R1. Now we have a 2025 Yamaha R1 here in blue and our Gen 7 ZX-10R here in red. The mid-range, significant increases over the 10R, which is to be expected. That CP4 R1 engine is a very nice and linear engine all the way up until the top. Now at the top you can see the ZX-10R is making 5 wheel horsepower, about peak RPM there, but peak to peak, overall 1 wheel horsepower difference between the 10R and the R1, favoring the 10R. And we're talking about this racing range here, 12 to 14, right around there. It's trading places between the two. This would be a great race between these two bikes. Light to light, I think the Yamaha R1's got a little bit better feel to it, of course, because we just got more power and more torque in the mid-range here. That's quite a significant increase between the two. Now let's go ahead and check out the German Gixxer, otherwise known as the BMW S1000RR. Okay, we have the BMW S1000RR. It's a 2025 model here in blue, and the Gen 7 ZX-10R in red. Now there is nowhere on this RPM range, absolutely nowhere, where the 10R is coming close to the BMW S1000RR as far as motor goes. That shift cam that BMW puts in there just makes a significant amount of power over that 10R. And even at the top end of this, we're still making 7-wheel horsepower more, and peak to peak, that's almost 10-wheel horsepower. But the torque is also a big one there at 11-wheel torque. I mean, it's making more torque everywhere. That shift cam is honestly a great thing, but it really does come on. You just give it a good hit in the second gear, that bike will light the moon. Now let's see one more comparison. I want to see an Italian bike. Let's see the 25 Panigale V4. Now I just picked a random run here for the Panigale V4 for pump gas, and this is in blue, the Panigale V4, in red, the Gen 7 ZX-10R. Kind of similar to the BMW, we're not seeing any spot in the RPMs where the 10R is coming close to the Panigale V4. 15-wheel horsepower here, 15-wheel horsepower here, 8-wheel horsepower here. It's just kind of drowning the ZX-10 out everywhere, and as expected, it's a $30,000 bike as opposed to the 10R you can pick up for a little under $20,000. I mean, significant amount of more RPM, more power. The 10R is just being outclassed by the V4. Now I'll be doing a full ride review with this motorcycle pre-flash and post-flash. And that's one of the R&D things we do on motorcycles that no other companies can really do. And I'll kind of explain why. Other companies that simply have a dyno and rely on third parties for software, meaning they use some kind of tuning software where they can flash the motorcycle. And they wait for this third party company to make definitions, make tables, make something digestible that they can actually make changes with on the dyno. We do things a little bit different. We're actually able to take the coding from the ECU itself and define all of that ourselves with our programmers. Now this is kind of unique because you gotta have some real OEM level coding experience. And that's the advantage that we have and why we're able to get this bike on the dyno so fast. We got this bike yesterday and we're on the dyno today with it. That's how fast we wanted to get this and knock it out really quick. And we're not done. When I go and take this bike out post-flash, like I was explaining with the 25% throttle, I'll be relaying my findings. I gotta ride the motorcycle, see how it feels. If I don't like it, I'll talk with the lead calibrator and work together to try and get something that I feel works well on the motorcycle. And I'm very picky. Whereas if you're working with a third-party company and they haven't defined something properly yet, you can put it on the motorcycle, it can ride badly, and then you have to give feedback to the tuner and to the software company and wait for them to come up with a solution while they get the motorcycle, while they test on their end, and that could take weeks or months even. Whereas with us, it's me communicating with the lead calibrator and we get this done within a day. Some of the changes we play with are the exhaust valves, if it stays open and neutral, or if we close it the entire time or open it the entire time. There's something we can do on our end, and we don't need to consult with a third-party company to do that. Lower fan temperatures. We even have for the Gen 6 and we'll have for the Gen 7, where we had different power modes for different fuel maps. So we can do that too, meaning if you want race gas map for M, and for F, you want a 91 pump map, we can do that too. Now, of course, the biggest change we're gonna see on this motorcycle is gonna be de-restricting it. And that's gonna be the first thing the third-party people change or get rid of. It's gonna be that restriction. Now, we're gonna have many other things, like we have different throttle mapping for tip-in, we're gonna have different things for 25% throttle, 50% throttle, 75% throttle to make the bike more consistent and predictable. That's the whole idea here. We don't just wanna focus on peak power like some people do. It's all around rideability for us. And the amount of power we picked up on the dyno is significant. So just de-restricting it does a lot to the motorcycle, don't get me wrong, but that's just part of the puzzle for us. We gotta keep on going and make this thing where it feels perfect on the street. And these are just some of the changes we make on the motorcycle. And I'll be going over a lot of these changes in our full ride review video, which will be available very soon. It'll be a pre-flash with GPS, post-flash with GPS, dyno, and my whole wrap up and changes for the motorcycle between pre and post-flash. So stay tuned to the channel and that will be available very soon. I'll see you guys in the next one.